All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today is Saturday, April the 30th, a little bit after 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I appreciate you all coming in this afternoon to meet with us. Today is a little different day for us. We had a presenter that was unable to come in and present with us, so we decided to do an open forum format where this is going to really be your all's meeting. We want some interaction. We want some discussion. We're going to open the floor. I'll go through the rules as far as how we're going to conduct this here in a few minutes. But it should be just more open discussion about wood carving. And hopefully we'll have a lot of interaction from the participants here in the meeting. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we've got coming up. Next weekend, we're going to have Ken Kuhar from Pennsylvania coming on with us. That'll be on May 7th. Dana Kabik from Carving Junkies is going to come on May 14th, and I saw Dana in the chat there just a second ago. She's going to come on and talk about advertising wood carvings and utilizing social media to be able to do that. So I look forward to that conversation. On May the 21st, Dylan Goodson's going to be coming in with us, and he's going to be talking about a class that he has coming up on relief carving. So I look forward to that. Again, Dylan Goodson's carved for a long time. He's been in Charlotte a few times with us, carving down there in the Charlotte meeting, and he's going to be having a class. So I look forward to seeing what Dylan has to offer. And then after that May 21st meeting, we're going to go back to meeting once a month. And those meetings will hopefully be presentations or demonstrations. But if we don't have presentations, then we may do more of this open forum format based on how it goes today. So look forward to seeing how today goes. I want to remind you all to go out and check out Woodcarving Academy as you have time. There's a lot of good classes out there. Remember that Dave Stetson has a workshop that's coming up on carving Uncle Sam. He presented last weekend and did a little taste about what's going to be coming up in that class. That class starts on May the 7th. You still have time to sign up, so reach out to Dave if you're interested. The rough outs are available through Dwayne Gosnell, and Dwayne can help you get that out in time to start the class. And I think Dave will probably be offering a pattern for that as well. And then on May the 9th, Janet Cordell is going to be doing a class on carving a bighorn sheep. Again, some of Janet's information is out there on Woodcarving Academy, so make sure you check those classes out as well. We'll be working hard to sign some people up for the summer meetings. And then starting in September, we'll go back to doing a weekly meeting. Don't forget in September also that the Carving the Rockies show that CCA is going to be putting on will be on the 24th and 25th out there in Colorado. If you're available and able to get out there, make sure you go out and check out that show. Again, that's on September 24th and 25th. They're going to have a competition there. They're going to have vendors. There's going to be a lot of good stuff for caricature carvers out there, so make sure you try to attend if you can. Just saw that Thom or Dave put our link tree out in the chat. Remember to like and subscribe our videos out on YouTube if you get a chance. There's a link there to buy me a coffee if you want to contribute to these meetings. Again, we're having to pay for this subscription to Zoom every month. So any donations that you make help benefit that. Having said all of that, let's talk a little bit about the meeting today. First and foremost, we want to make sure that everybody is courteous of each other. I know on a Zoom format, when you have a bunch of people, sometimes you have a difficult situation where kind of people talk over each other. There's a delay and things like that. Just make sure you're courteous to people as they're talking. If somebody else tries to answer a question, allow them to answer before you chime in. We'd like for everybody to place questions in the chat. So if you have questions that you're wanting to ask in this format, go ahead and put them out in the chat. We'll be watching the chat, and I'll be reading those off as they come in. And then we're going to spotlight the people that answer, and anybody in the room can answer. So if you have an answer, if you want to chime in, or if you have something to add, definitely go ahead and do that, and we'll try to spotlight the person that's talking. We welcome the interaction. We hope this is a creative discussion regarding wood carving. And again, anything that you add will be beneficial. So having said all that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start it off with a question that I got this past week. And hopefully that'll start the discussion, and then we'll go from there. I had one person, and anybody can answer that wants to. I had one person contact me and say, they've been asked to do a whittling demonstration for a group of elementary age school kids over the summer. They also want the kids to participate in the carving a bit. They're looking for tips and insights when teaching and instructing beginner kids, and possibly suggestions on a good starting knife for kids. So if anybody wants to go ahead and chime in regarding that question, that'll get us started as far as what your ideas are as far as getting kids involved, what tools they should use, what kind of knife they should use. And I'll go ahead and open that up to the group.
Is Chris Gardena, is he on here right now? Because he does a lot of stuff for the Boy Scouts out in California.
I've worked with the Scouts, and with the Boy Scouts, they have, there's actually a merit badge booklet.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
if they're talking Cub Scouts, there's actually certain ages that the Scouts kind of recommend it. And I forget the age, but you have to be up into the Weeblos age before they'll let you get your totem chip, it's called. Your totem chip is what allows you to carry a pocket knife. So generally with them, they'll start them with soap and a butter knife, soap and a popsicle stick, that kind of thing. And with the Boy Scouts, I found with our troop, instead of using what the Boy Scouts recommend for a project, I mean, as a merit badge instructor, you're open to change things, but you need to give them a taste of relief carving. You need to give them a taste of in the round. They want you to use like a bench hook, kind of to show them some different methods. But I found that the 5-minute owl was the best project for the young kids to be able. You can use found wood, you can use, little squares of basswood, and it doesn't matter what size, but it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to show an owl, and you're teaching all the basic, your push cut, your slice cut, all the basic cuts are shown with that owl, and that's why I like it for a project with the Scouts so much. But you're best off watching the ages, and I don't know that I kind of got lost on the question. I think I got too much into the Boy Scouts and not enough into young kids.
So yeah, John, he wants to know if you have a specific knife that you would recommend as far as for kids.
OCC makes a knife called the Scout knife, and it's got a smaller handle, and it's got a better price tag on it than a lot of the other ones. And as far as buying a wood carving knife, that's probably your best bet, is that OCC Scout knife. And then of course proper PPE, get a bunch of gloves and whatnot. And just remember, the more kids you got, it's going to be like herding cats. You're not going to keep them on the same page. The best tip I can give you is, if you're demonstrating something, make them put their tools on the table, because you'll have one or two over on the side that they're going to go over there whittling and flailing away. And while you're trying to demonstrate something, that's when somebody gets hurt. So just be on your toes. Yeah, like I said, I think I kind of rambled off a topic there, got me hooked on the Scout part of it, and it's not all about the Scouts, it's about all the kids in general.
All right, thanks, John. Is there anybody else that'd like to chime in?
We taught some kids at our club, and they had the parents there to monitor what was going on. And we also use the small Murphy knives. They're reasonably priced. You're probably going to have to hone them before you use them. I don't remember the website you can get them off of. Last time I looked, they're about $16 a piece. And they got a pretty decent steel in them. Blade's not too long, and the handles are slim. But we had the parents sitting over each one of their children, monitoring what was going on. I saw that one Carver at 6 years old with I took a piece of Purple Heart and laminated. She likes purple and pink. So I made her up a knife about the size of a Scout knife that she could carve soap with. But we kind of limit their time to like 5 to 10 minutes. They get a little fidgety after that when they're 6 years old. But that's basically what John said, and there's a couple more options for knives. because I know OCC is having trouble getting scout knives right now.
Thank you, Ray. Anybody else got anything to say?
Hey, Blake, I'll share a story with you. About, I'm going to say maybe 40 years ago, I had a school teacher ask me to come and do a show and tell for her class in grade school. And I just carved and talked to the kids about wood carving, and they watched. And they seemed to enjoy what I was presenting to them. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And one kid came up to me and said that he wanted to be an artist. So the teacher introduced me as an artist. But he wanted to be an artist when he got older, and that's what he wanted to do. And I kind of talked to him a little bit and kind of tried to talk him out of it, telling him that, it's not, if you want to put a roof over your head and, have nice meals at the table and that sort of thing, that's not going to be the right way to go. And about a year ago, I got an email out of the blue from a guy who was the kid that asked me about becoming an artist. And he was intent on being an artist and became a graphic artist so he could make a living at it. And his kid was wanting to go into the world of art and become an artist. And so he was telling her the story that I told him, and it just kind of was a good feeling that it got passed down. The things that you don't even consider at the time can come back and give you good feelings years down the road. But anytime you can present what you're doing to the younger folks, and it's amazing how deep that sinks into their mind and how it can alter their life choices.
Yeah, we never know about the seeds that we plant along the way, and that's a good story to represent that. You never know how you're going to influence somebody, for sure.
Well said, Dave. And I can tell you, as the person doing that demonstration, when somebody comes back to you, it means more than you'll ever know. After doing one of our wood carving merit badges with the troop, one of the moms came up to me a week later and she says, "My son come home smiling ear to ear, ran out in the wood pile, grabbed a stick. 10 minutes later, he come in and showed me this thing. He said it was an owl. I don't know what it was, but he was so excited. He was so happy." And I says, "That's what it's all about."
That's right.
And he had all his fingers.
Yeah, that's important. So we'll move. Thank you all for contributing. We'll move on to the next question that's in the chat.
I had an experience with that.
Go ahead, Dave.
Starting out. Yeah, the guy that started me out wood carving, we started with apples, plastic knives. You can carving faces into apples. So that was just a thought I had. That's what he started me out with. And the kids could use plastic knives, so that felt better. That was my little experience. Thanks.
Yep, and I think a lot of people use apples and potatoes and soap. That's a big thing for kids. So a good place to start for sure. Next question in the chat. I noticed that there's a few people that have taught through Zoom. Kevin Applegate's on here, Dave Stetson, Bob Hershey, probably a few others that I'm missing. Maybe I don't know if there's any others, but somebody's worried about their skill level not being good enough and being able to keep up in Zoom classes. They're a little intimidated by the learning from those classes. So I wonder if anybody could chime in as far as their teaching process in those Zoom classes and how they're able to make sure that the students are able to teach up and kind of what they can gain from those classes. If anybody wants to chime in on that.
Blake, I could talk about it a little bit for a second.
Yeah, Kevin.
Mainly because, as I think I've said on here before, I was the guy who was pretty vocal saying it wouldn't work in the beginning. I just didn't see how that could be possible. And after teaching numerous Zoom classes and doing a lot of one-on-ones, I found out that I was exactly wrong, and it's the exact opposite. And I think for a couple reasons. One reason is you have to make every single cut yourself. There's no rescue. There's no safety net of the instructor fixing it. So that's one thing I found. But the thing that was really the most interesting to me is that in doing the one-on-ones I did, I don't know, 4 or 5 people that have been carving about 6 months. And no pattern, no cutout, no anything. We just carved a bust from a block. And I was shocked at how good the results were. I think that not only do I think it will work, I think it actually makes a 6-month carver appear more to be a 2 or 3 year carver if they put in some work and actually do some practice and go through it. And we did sort of step by step, about an hour at a time. I would demonstrate and they would cut a little bit. Sometimes I'd let them record it so they could go back and watch it again. But I thought it worked out really well, and I think they should jump in if they're thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. I've taken several classes, taken one of your classes and a few from Dave and some other instructors. And I definitely guarantee that you'll be able to better your skills and see all of the cuts and all of the work that the instructor's doing. So I highly encourage those classes, at any opportunity that you may get. Try to take advantage of those if you can. Anybody else? Bob, Dave, you all want to chime in?
I'll throw my 2 cents in. When I have done the Zoom classes, I also, like Kevin just said, I wasn't so sure how well it would go. And it turned out that I think they work very well. All the students have a front row seat. They can watch every cut. You can't possibly get in a classroom situation and have as good a seat as you'll get in a Zoom class. You can ask questions. Now, I do my Zoom classes through the Woodcarving Academy, so they're all recorded, and the students that are in the class can go back and watch the videos as many times as they want. Stop it, pause it, rewind it, whatever they need to do. So another thing about the question, I believe the person was not sure if they could keep up with the Carver. Well, that's part of it. You can go back and watch the tapes all week long for up to 2 weeks after the class. And one of the things about keeping up with the Carver, you got to remember, a lot of the instructors have carved a long time. They have a lot of experience. And also the piece they're carving on, they've probably carved it many times or something similar. So they're, very familiar with it, much more than you're going to be. So, it's not an idea that you have to try to keep up to the instructor, because, you'll be on for an hour or 2 with the instructor, and then you have all week to catch up or get it done whenever you can. So it's not like a race where you have to keep up. I don't know if that helps or not or answers any questions, but that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. I'm not sure if Dale Green's on here. I know he's also taught a few classes. Or Dave Stetson, you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'd prefer to hear the students' viewpoint rather than the instructors. Not that there's anything wrong with the instructors, but when we're trying to tout something that we're doing as being good, people kind of, if they're as pessimistic as I am, they're going to go, yeah, right. If there's anybody out there who's been a student in a Zoom class and can give us their insight, I think it'd be much more meaningful.
Yeah, Dave, maybe I'll jump in. I've taken a few. I've taken a couple from Dale Green and a couple from Ryan Olson. And I think one of the things I love about the Zoom classes is from a standpoint of delivery, I don't have to travel miles and miles and pack up my shop and bring all my tools. I can do it right in my shop and have everything right there. And it just makes it easier to kind of pick up afterwards. I appreciate what you guys said in terms of having a great view, the way the Woodcarving Academy does it, where they have kind of that top-down view where you can actually see them carve is really cool as well. And so one, it makes it more affordable. It makes it easier to take a lot more classes versus having to wait until, one of like the Rocky Mountain Roundup or whatever the case is, where it's offered just a couple of times, once a year, that kind of thing, where you can only maybe afford a couple of those trips a year. This way you can actually afford a lot more classes. So I just think from the Zoom standpoint, I love it. It just provides so much more access to various teachers. So that would be my 2 cents.
I can kind of speak to that one also, because I've taken a class from all of these guys, and it's been a real opportunity for me that I would never have had otherwise. And for anybody just thinking about it, you don't have to keep up. You don't have to finish your project, but just by watching the videos and watching these guys and how they do things, I guarantee you'll learn a ton of stuff. I've taken a bunch of them. Some of them I finished, some of them I haven't, but I've learned something in every single one.
I've taken Zoom class from Ryan Olson, and it was a good experience for me. I learned a lot. I paid attention to what he was doing the whole 2 hours. And then I would, when the class was over, I would go do what I was supposed to, carving. And I'd watch the video over, and I learned a lot. It was a good experience.
I also took from Dave and another person. What I liked was the repetition, where you could go and watch it over and over again, that you might miss, but you keep a retention of what you've learned through the class. So that's what I enjoyed about it.
Thank you, Ed. Anybody else like to chime in?
Yeah, this is John. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is John Clifford. I'm one of those that I never took a live class, and I was seeing stuff online, and then when COVID hit and I saw some classes advertised, the first one I took was from Dave, that Santa class he did back in 2020, and I fell in love with the format. I mean, you're right there. You can see every cut, and there's no way I could keep up with him. I mean, like any of you guys that carve, you take it and you shape the head really quickly. It might take me a half hour to do something that y'all do in 30 minutes, but that's my speed. And I've taken lots of classes to the point I had to kind of put myself on a 12-step program, because I was taking everything that came along. And I really enjoyed it, and it's I can't imagine a better way. And I've only gone to one other thing. I went to the Rocky Mountain thing, and that was great to be at a live event. And I'm going again, but in a way I'm looking at it, well, I get 10 minutes 3 times a day with the instructors, so that's way different than the Zoom. So I can't speak enough for that. And the Woodcarving Academy, I've gone back and I've retaken classes that I took live, and it's just been great as a learning experience. So if anybody hasn't taken them, I'd really encourage you.
That's what I was going to say, Blake. It's exactly what you said. I've been to many roundups, and I'm going to keep going to them. But like you said, you only get 10 minutes 3 or 4 times a day with them guys. With the Zoom classes, you see everything they're doing, everything from start to finish. So you can't beat that. And every instructor that I've seen so far has been reasonably in price. So, and there's no hotel rooms you have to go to.
Yeah, I'll echo that, Duck, there. And I think I talked about it in last week's meeting with Dave, is that, if he teaches a class that goes over 3 weekends, you're getting 4 hours each weekend. So that's 12 hours of instruction as compared to 10 minutes, here and there over 2 days. I mean, you get quite a bit more instruction from the instructors, and you see every cut that they're doing. And again, you get to go back and watch the videos at the end. So you're really getting more bang for your buck. And, they're not charging any more for the classes than they would a live class. So it's definitely more beneficial, I think, to have those videos out there. So anybody else?
Every class I've taken, Blake, is the instructor encourages you to ask questions.
That's right.
They would rather you ask questions so they don't just sit there and carve. So especially Applegate, he hates it when nobody asks questions.
How do the Zoom lessons compare to the to watching the YouTube videos from people like Doug Linker and Gene Messer and the like?
You can actually ask questions to to the Zoom classes. So I've been in several of Dave's, Stetson, Bob Hershey's classes, and it's nice when you didn't see something in a cut or you didn't understand how something was going to say, hey, I didn't quite catch that. Could you show me that one more time? Because when you're watching YouTube videos, you don't get the chance to say, Doug, I missed what you did. I can rewind it, but I'm not seeing fully what's there. With the live classes, you can actually ask those questions.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to add a little something to this, just out of curiosity. I've been only doing this for about 9 months, and I've enjoyed the Zoom classes. My thought is there's something lost, and that is the community. I was in a class with Ryan Olson. It was great, but I didn't actually get a chance to talk to Ryan personally. And so one of the things that I kind of wonder about, having never experienced a live class, is what's lost in terms of the community that could possibly be built.
I would address that.
Go ahead, Jim.
One of the things, especially with Dave's classes, Dave will critique your work. And if you email him and have questions, Dave's always responded, and that's been a tremendous help. Whereas if you just watch YouTube, you watch the video and that's it. And I did want to comment also that my wife approves, so I can go to a class at the Woodcarving Academy, and she knows where I'm at. So that helps besides the cost. And I've been carving for a number of years, but I think it's just been priceless for me, how much I've been able to improve by being able to communicate with some of these guys. And I've really enjoyed it. So thanks.
We also have in the chat, they want to know where you can find information regarding the classes. We try to announce as many of the classes that we know about in these meetings. You can go out on Woodcarving Academy and check out the upcoming workshops. There's a link there on the Woodcarving Academy website that says workshops, and you can go out and see stuff that's been posted there. In our newsletter, we've started advertising other things. So I know Chris Hammock has an ongoing Zoom type class where you can go out and work on a project with him. Dwayne Gosnell does Whittle Wednesday, so you can reach out to Dwayne on his website and sign up for classes there. But we try to communicate as many of those as possible that we can so that people can get involved. But again, Woodcarving Academy has probably been the one place that you can find out the majority of those classes that are put on Zoom. They're also put out on Woodcarving Academy after they're over. I think your Ron hosts those, so he's able to spotlight the instructor or spotlight the carving itself. So you can find out all of the information out there on Woodcarving Academy.
And Blake,
Sorry,
Blake, I just want to say I just put the link for Woodcarving Academy in the chat there. So if anyone's looking for it, it's right there.
Yep. Thanks, Tom.
So Blake, is this a shameless opportunity for me to advertise the one I've got coming up?
Plug it, Dave. Let's go.
This is what we're going to do. And if you get on the bandwagon, you can take part in it. Half of what it would cost if I was doing a live class.
And how do they contact you, Dave, to sign up?
Shoot me an email.
And again, Dwayne Gosnell has the rough out, so you have the opportunity to reach out to him and get that out in the mail so that you can have it in time to start. And the classes I've set in with Dave, he also offers a pattern. So if you want to do it from a pattern instead of the rough out, you can do it that way also. So it's really beneficial, regardless of how you want to approach that. You can do it either way. So reach out to Dave and get signed up for that. Again, Janet Cordell has one that's coming up in May as well, so you can reach out to her, and I'm sure there'll be others out there available as well. I'm going to shift gears a little bit from classes. We're going to talk a question. Yeah, go ahead, Nikki.
Just on the roughouts, do you know if the roughouts are shipped outside the States or they're only shipped within the United States?
You may want to reach out to Dwayne. I think you can send him an email and find out. I'm not positive. Maybe Dave or Kevin can answer that. I don't know. Kevin, do you ship?
Dwayne's website is not set up for international orders, but if you contact him personally, directly, I know he does ship outside.
Right,
Kevin, do you ship outside of the United States?
I do, but it's the same thing. The postage rates and whatnot on the website don't work out. So it says for international to just contact me.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, Blake.
Yes,
Blake, I was also going to tell you, didn't mention the CCA website also. If you go to that site and go to the individual instructors, their websites, they usually have all their classes listed also.
Okay.
So CCA's website's good for that stuff also.
Thanks for that, Doug. We're going to shift gears a little bit, but this may be along the same lines. How do the more experienced carvers advise a new carver to get better? Do you recommend them carving the same carving many times for muscle memory, or carve different types and styles of carvings to get better? Anybody like to chime in on that one?
I don't know if I qualify as an experienced carver. I've been at it about 3 years, but I started off making the simple flat back Santa face. And what I did was I started off with a simple face. I got inspired by sharing my art on YouTube, Doug Linker and Gene Messer. And as I carved, I just added detail. Like from the top down, eyes, mouth, mustache, and just kept working at it and I don't really push my carvings for sale, but people buy them. People want me to make them bigger or smaller. That 6-inch Santa went from being a 18-inch wall hanging to a set of earrings for 6 or 7 different people. And I don't consider myself a great carver. I'm all right. I've been in Dave Stetson's Zoom class, but I didn't allow enough time to work with it. Somehow I'm smarter than this, but 6 weekends of 2 hours of 4 hours a weekend didn't add up to, in my head, to how much time I needed to do this. I'll get back and finish his piece, but I found that doing it over and over and trying to perfect it was a bigger help to me than just, I got a friend of mine learning to carve now. He's doing dogs, he's doing faces, he's doing this, he's doing that. And I'm trying to push him in the direction of getting, he's not satisfied with any of his carvings. And I just think he's trying to learn too much at one time, in my personal opinion. That's what worked for me.
Thanks, Ray.
I think I can add to that a little bit.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah, I would echo that. I wouldn't call myself an experienced carver, but I've become a better carver just by carving as much as I can. So like every single day, or not every single day, not everyone can do that, but as much as you can, get your knife in the wood, the better you're going to get. And I carve a lot of the same stuff. And I find the more I carve a pattern or a design, the better it gets. And then also when I try something new, the better I get at that too. So I think it just depends on what you want to do. Do you want to carve this one thing really well, or do you want to carve a bunch of things really well? Just do it every day, and I think you'll be fine. That's all. Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks.
I think it's a lot like asking an athlete who wants to become a pro, should I spend more time in the weight room or should I spend more time on the field? It all goes together. It all works together. I think the big thing is not to work yourself to a point of exhaustion. I don't want to say exhaustion, but to a point where you get tired of it. So if you're interested in what you're doing, do something that you enjoy, something you like. if you lose the joy, then it's not gonna do you well.
And Dave, I think you alluded to that last week as far as repetition and stuff goes. You talked about doing something 10,000 times and how it really doesn't take that long to do that, but you need to have that muscle memory to be able to accomplish what it is you're setting out to do. And I think doing the repetition helps.
Yeah, 10,000 repetitions, the number sounds really big. I mean, it's like, who the hell wants to do anything 10,000 times? But I was told that when I was trying to learn how to play guitar, that it takes 10,000 repetitions to create muscle memory.
Right.
And any given time you're sitting down practicing for a half hour or for half hour or an hour, you're gonna hit the same note and the same string and use the same fingering literally hundreds of times, close to 1,000 times. So 10,000 adds up really fast.
Sure.
Is Gary.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was just going to jump in on that and say that a lot of people say that practice makes perfect. That's kind of true. But if you're practicing it wrong all the time, you're going to make it permanent in the way you do it. So learn the techniques to do it right, and then practice that makes it more perfect.
Good advice. Thanks, Gary.
Practice makes permanent.
That's right. Let's shift gears a little bit. We'll go in a different direction again. Like I talked about at the beginning of the meeting, the Carving the Rockies show's coming up in September with the CCA, and there's always questions about what can I do better to be able to place better in a competition like that. So there's a question in the chat. Do any of the CCA award winners have tips for creating carvings to enter the annual CCA competition? Anybody maybe who has judged or somebody that's placed high in that, do you have any recommendations or tips that people can do that will allow them to place better when those kinds of competitions come around?
As a judge, I've always felt that presentation was one of the key factors. What you do what you do for a carving to enter it in competition. In other words, you have a carving sitting on a shelf at home. You just pack it up and take it to the show and set it on the table. That's not doing anything for presentation. If it was, imagine if you were walking into a good high-end art gallery and looking at a piece of sculpture, you wouldn't want to just see something that came out of the foundry and got set on a table. They set it up to its best, to present it as best they can. And that's something that a lot of carvers fail to do.
Anybody else like to chime in on that? But I know in the class that I was in with Ryan Olson, he said to make sure and put every carving you do on a base. And I know, as a carver, sometimes when you're excited about the piece that you're carving and you get it done, you get it exactly the way you want it, then, you want to show it off and put it on a shelf or whatever. But I think that goes back to what Dave was saying. Make sure that you create a base for it and make sure that presentation's the way that you want it so that it does stand out compared to some of the other carvings. Anybody want to talk about bases and how that enhances the carvings that you do?
I'll say just a couple things about bases. I'm a long way from an expert on it, but not to jump on what Stetson said, but the presentation is everything. And when you're gonna make a base, I try real hard when I'm carving a competition piece. I start planning the base as I'm planning the piece. And I turn some of my bases on a lathe, and I use a router to shape some of them to put an edge on, depending on what I'm doing. But I start planning that when I'm planning the project. And the one thing I see people doing is somebody told them that they need to put a base on their carving. So they get a square block of wood and put a round carving on it, or vice versa, or they have a a small piece they put in the middle of a big block of wood, or they don't. You got to make it all tie together so that it's appealing to the eye. That's something that's really difficult to do. I can't tell you that I'm an expert on it, but it's kind of hard to do. And the other thing, when you do put a base on a piece, that base is going to be judged too. So if you're going to router the edge, it's got to be nice. You don't want something crappy and rough and torn and not sanded nicely or not finished nicely. You want the base to enhance the carving. And so that's just my 2 cents on that. It is hard to come up with nice bases to, because I'm not probably any better at it than anybody else out there, but it's something that I think about a lot and work on a lot when I'm doing a competition piece. That's all.
Bob, you hit the nail on the head, buddy. The base does need to be should be an integral part of the carving as much as you can. Thinking about it when you get started on it and thinking about it while you're doing your carving is important. I liken that a lot of times I'll tell people, think about the base as being, if you are an artist and doing a painting and you're going to hang it on the wall, you're not just going to take thumbtacks and stick them in the corners. You're going to have it put into a frame, and then the frame can separate the painting from the wall. And then you can mat the painting or the drawing, and putting a mat between the frame and the painting isolates it even more. And you can use those same principles in a base for a piece. You can have something to separate the base from the table, but then you can have something that separates the carving from the base. And just taking a piece of scrap out of your shop and putting a routed edge on it and sticking a carving on it so it doesn't tip over, that's not a base. I mean, that's given no artistic thought to it whatsoever. So bird carvers, if you want to learn about bases, study how bird carvers present their pieces, and take note of that, because they do a wonderful job, not only with the habitat but the base itself.
Thanks, guys. And I'll do a little shameless plug for our meetings. Several months back, we had Del Green on that talked a little bit about creating bases and using creativity in your carvings. So if anybody wants to revisit that, make sure you go back and check out our videos on YouTube and look for Del Green's meeting, and you'll hear a lot about how he creates those and his process that he goes through. So check those out. I know on these meetings that we've talked about a lot of different things. I'll shift gears again. We're going to talk a little bit about sharpening. Chris Hammock was on a few weeks ago, and he uses a Burke system to keep his tools sharp. But not everybody has a Burke system, and so we talked a little bit about maybe a diamond stone or sandpaper or something like that. I wonder if anybody would want to chime in and maybe give some tips or ideas on how you can keep your tools sharp, especially if you're a beginner and you're not really sure how to get a good sharp edge or work up a wire edge on a knife or something like that. Would anybody like to talk about sharpening and what your process is to keep your tools in tip-top shape so that the next time you're ready to carve, you're ready to go? So anybody like to talk a little bit about sharpening?
Blake, can I jump in there for a second?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
So I come from a wood turning background, and I don't have a Burke system. So what I actually done is made a timber faceplate and mounted a piece of leather onto that, and run the lathe at 6,000 RPM to finish the edge on my knives, and I find it works very well. I know not everybody's going to go out and spend a couple of €1,000 on a lathe. A Burke system might be cheaper, but it was just something that I done, used what I had in the workshop to sharpen the knives.
Nice, thanks, Nick. And I'll give another pitch for our meetings. These are International Association meetings, and Nick is always on here. And again, if you want to tell the group where you're from, Nick.
Ireland.
There you go, from Ireland. So
yeah.
Thanks for joining us every opportunity you get.
As much as it is nice to watch the recordings on YouTube, it's always nicer to be here live.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anybody else want to chime in as far as what you do with sharpening?
Just a quick, my 2 cents on that. Please learn to do it by hand before you go to power. Get a feel for it. Get to learn what that steel's doing and what you're looking for in that edge. And you're only going to get that by going by hand. It doesn't take long with power to wreck a tool to the point where you just learn to do it by hand first. I'm sure everybody's got a kitchen drawer full of knives that they can practice on, or go to the gas station and buy a couple of them $2 pocket knives if you're worried about wrecking your wood carving tool. And just get a feel for, because you can tell when you're on that stone, you can feel when that steel is, when it's cutting right and when it's not cutting right. And that's just my 2 cents there.
And John, you and I have talked about sharpening. You use a 600 diamond stone, 600 grit diamond stone. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of the time. And that's only because I don't want to spend all day on a finer one. I want to get it down there. And then I'm going to, after I get it with that 600, I'm going to strop it till it's a mirror finish again.
So really with a small investment, you're able to get your tools back to
Right.
about factory.
And you know, just because one guy uses diamond doesn't mean that's the end all. And there's the sandpaper method, and I mean, every method out there has its ups and downs. Just find what works for you and learn to do it good. Just like it's no different than your carving. So you know, the earlier question on muscle memory, it's really no different. You're not going to learn it until you do it, and build that muscle memory. But take the time. I guess one thing that, you know, at work, I check mine once in a while. At work, we have one of them lighted magnifying glasses where you can hold stuff underneath it. It's about 10 inch in diameter. I've been thinking about getting one at home because they are wonderful for checking the edge on your tool. You'll see stuff with that lighted magnifying glass that you won't with the regular magnifying glass or glasses or cheaters or whatnot. And they're pretty inexpensive. Because the smallest nick or burr in there will translate in, that's the crack in the dam. If there's going to be a tool failure, it's going to follow from that along. But I guess, like I said, that's my 2 cents.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. I just was watching something about the sandpaper method and ordered the sandpaper that's like 1,200, 2,000, 5,000, 7,000, that type of thing. And I've been carving for over 20 years, and this is the easiest way, the wet dry sandpaper. I sharpened a knife, an old knife the other day that I had tried to sharpen forever, and it worked.
Do you sharpen gouges and V-tools on that as well, or just knives?
No, I use my Tormek for my gouges, and gotcha. I did sharpen a V-tool on it, but I had to redo it. And what I did was I had some lumber and I glued it to it, and I took I got some 180 sandpaper to bring it back to the fine edge. Then I went to 1,200, 2,000, 5,000, 7,000, and 10,000 wet dry sandpaper, and just did the 10, 9, 8 each way, all the way down.
Right.
I'm not kidding. This is the easiest and fastest and best way I've sharpened a knife for whittling.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's a great advice.
I've done that, and I can recommend people that if you are going to do it, either get emery cloth or automotive wet dry sandpaper. Don't get just the run-of-the-mill sandpaper you can get from Walmart to work on your bookshelf project.
Right.
But yeah, it is a wonderful system. The only downside to it is it's less portable than other ways, because you have quite a bit of stuff you need with you to switch off and on. But it works. It works great.
Blake, what is your method?
So I do it a little different. I've got a 2x72 grinder that I sometimes make knives on, and I can put a blade on a 400 grit belt and get a wire edge quick. But if I'm wanting to do it by hand, I usually use that 600 grit diamond stone. I've got one right here. And like John said, just work it slow and work it down until you get the wire edge, and then hit it with a strop. And usually by then, once I get that mirror finish, I'm ready to go. So I do it both ways. It's quicker if you put it on a belt, but not everybody has a belt sander. I also use a buffing wheel. So a lot of times if I get a wire edge, then I'll take it over to a buffing wheel and buff both edges or both sides. And that'll pull it back to pretty much sharp or pretty much factory. So I use a variety of methods, but recently started using the diamond stone. And I really like that as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any advice on compounds then, Blake? What's the best compound to use?
I've used a variety of compounds. I use the Flex Pet Gold a lot. I have a powder that I use that I got from Smoky Mountain Woodcarvers years ago, and you put it on a strop, just the same way as you would use like like the Flex Cut Gold. So I use that some. It's really just what you get used to using. I know some people use Zam. Zam's good. I just use what I've got. So I mean, there's a variety of compounds out there you can use. I don't know if any's any better than the others. I know, like I said, a lot of people use Zam and they recommend that. So try any of those.
Can I mention the guy's name that puts out a video about sharpening?
Sure, go right ahead, Doug.
I don't know if you can see this, but Everett Ellenwood, he has this right here, and there's a lot of good stuff on there. Like John was talking about what to look for, what kind of shape you're going for, and what you don't want and what you want, which I found really helpful. And there's a lot of good stuff on here. A couple of different methods.
Thank you, Doug. I'll give another shameless pitch for our meetings. A while back, we had on Mary May, and we also had on Janet Cordell. And in both of those videos, you can go back and rewatch those. And both of those people touch on sharpening and their process that they go through in sharpening tools. And we also did a full meeting probably over a year ago about sharpening. And I know John Overby was on there talking about it. We had a few other people. Doug Linker was one. And I'm not sure. Yeah, James Ray Miller was on. He was the third person. And we talked a lot about sharpening. So if you want to go back and watch those meetings, again, Mary May, Janet Cordell, there's a lot of information that we've produced out there that you can go back and rewatch if you have questions about sharpening that may be beneficial as far as the process goes. Looking at other questions in the chat, there's a question as far as, does anybody else use a pocket knife for carving? It brings them back to watching their grandfather when they were a kid. Does anybody have recommendations on getting a knife edge or a pocket knife in condition to be able to do carving, I guess the way that we do carving? And if so, what kind of knife? Is there one knife better than the other?
If you give me just a second, I'll go grab mine.
Yeah, go ahead. Anybody else want to chime in on that while we're waiting on Nikki? I know Alan Goodman, he produces or provides a lot of pocket knives that he's sharpened to make into whittlers. Sometimes he'll post those out on Instagram, on his Instagram page that he has available. And I know Bob Statlander, I think, brings some to shows that I've been to where he's sharpened them into whittling knives. So those are a couple places you can look for pocket knives to be able to use as whittlers. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah, so Great Eastern Cutlery makes a lot of slip joint pocket knives, and they made a pocket whittler year ago, 2 years ago. And when you get it, it's horrible. Like it's not good for the kind of carving that we do. But I took mine to like a 1,000 grit whetstone, because that's the lowest grit I have. And I took the V edge down and just ground it down completely flat. And it's now one of my favorite little pocket knives, especially if I'm just like in the car or going somewhere. It comes with 3 blades, and if you just fully grind those down on your stone flat and strop them, it's one of the best carving knives I have now. A note on the tip though, the tip is a little on the small blades is really delicate. I broke mine off, but I sort of squared off the top a little bit on that one. And it works great now. So I really, really like this knife a lot.
I have a finger that has a scar from the nail all the way around to the other side. And it happened when I was in Boy Scouts. And I had a pocket knife fold up on me. So I tend to stay away from anything that doesn't lock. So I want to lock back. And I carry a pocket knife with me all the time. And it's an old timer, which isn't the best of steel, but it's sufficient, but it locks. And this was called a trapper. I don't know what the model number is, but it had a blade that the tip turned up, whatever the name of that is. And I straightened the blade out, reground it. But the reason I went with a knife this size is that the handle is big enough to fit in my hand, so I can get my fingers around it. So I've still got about a 2.5 inch blade, but it's done the job for me. But like I said, it's not the best steel in the world, but I don't carve with it all the time. But it's in my pocket, so if I'm without a pocket knife, or if I'm without a knife and I've got the desire to cut something, I've got something that'll do it.
Thank you, Dave.
Blake, Arlene Zomer, she refigures the Rough Rider knife, which is pretty decent. I only use it when we go camping or overnight, but Flex Cut also makes a pocket jack, which is pretty decent. It's not great for long periods of time, but we do some backpacking and it's good for an hour or two here and there.
Perfect. Thank you, Dana. And anybody who don't know, this is Dana that'll be presenting with us in a couple of weeks. So we appreciate you coming on and joining us, and look forward to what you have to share with us in a couple of weeks.
I just wanted to jump in quick. Dana and Dave both brought up something really important with a pocket knife. It doesn't take long for them to start digging into your hand. That's one of the things with the Boy Scouts. Technically, you're not supposed to have any fixed blade, but they kind of look the other way for the wood carving knives. But when it comes to a pocket knife, you can get your blade the best in the world, but the handles or multiple blades or multiple things hanging off of there, just keep that in the back of your mind when you're picking one out, is that comfort level. Because if your hand's going to get sore or blistered up, it's going to become unsafe on you, and you're going to have issues. I said both Dave and Dana kind of alluded to that without knowing they were, but it doesn't take long for a pocket knife to tear your hand up.
So let's switch gears again here and talk about something else related to carving. Everybody who travels, or I'll say everybody, a lot of people who travel around and go to different shows and things, usually have a tool tote that you carry your tools in and any blocks of wood and things like that. I know there's a few places that you used to be able to get carving totes from that are no longer in business. A friend of mine, Charlie Simpson, passed last year. He used to make tool totes that we could get from him. It seems to be limited as far as where you can get tool totes. So somebody wanted to know about tips or places to find a good tool rack or bag these days. Has anybody ran across a good supplier of totes, or what do you use as far as your tool rack or tool bag goes?
Hey, Blake, this is Doug.
Hey, go ahead, Doug.
Being from the military, I like the Pelican cases. They're very heavy duty. You can put them in, you can throw these things around pretty good, but Pelican cases are very expensive. I was at Harbor Freight not long ago, and they make a case similar to the Pelican case. It's very sturdy, and it's a lot less expensive, and you can get them in different sizes. I bought a 6x8, and shoot, I bet you I can get 20 knives in this case. So that's a easy way to keep them where they don't get thrown around or dinged up or anything like that.
Hey, and I don't know if you have it handy. Can you show that to everybody?
I sure can.
Gotcha. Nice. Thanks, Dougie.
And I got all these knives in here too. All right. It's got padding in it, so you can do just about anything with it.
Thank you for that. Anybody else have any other suggestions, or what do you use to be able to carry your tools with?
Blake, I got these on QVC, believe it or not. They're called lock and lids, and they're pretty streamlined. You know, I put wood in one. I got all my tools. They have nice handles, so I could just take them and go.
Nice. So Nikki Reese also suggested a tackle box. Tackle box is always a good alternative as far as tool racks go. I know there's some videos out on YouTube where you can go out and see how other people have designed their own tool racks. I know Alan Goodman produced one many years back that's out there still on YouTube as far as his box goes, and his is one of the probably the bigger boxes that I've seen. But I also know that finding boxes for sale are few and far between. I know that Bob Statlander carries a few. You can sometimes reach out to him. I will say that someone donated a box to us, and I can't get to it right now, but I'll grab it here in a few minutes. We're probably going to be doing an auction on that knife to benefit the International Association of Woodcarvers. It's got a Lazy Susan type bottom on it, so it spins. So if you got a tool on the other side that you're trying to get to and you want to spin it around and get to it, it's pretty handy to do that. It's got glass front and back. So that'll be something that we advertise in the future that we'll probably be doing an auction on, and we can ship that out. Also just saw Kevin Anderson put in the chat that you can look on Pinterest for ideas to make your own. Etsy probably has some ideas out there that you can look at as well. But again, toolboxes are kind of few and far between as far as they go, but you can definitely make your own, customize them the way that you want them, and be able to carry as few or as many tools as you need. So,
Like I actually bought one in IKEA. IKEA do one. It's like an old type sewn box.
Right. So
you have the one big tray on the bottom, and then you open it up on either side. And I think I bought that for about €20 maybe. It's made out of 1/4-inch plywood, so it's light. And you can move the compartments around in it. I found that very good.
Thank you, Nick.
Hey, Blake.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Mitch.
Hey, Mitch, what's going on, buddy?
All right. You can always repurpose other tool manufacturers' boxes. So like that's a flex cut. And also you're talking about tackle box. So this was a small tackle box that has compartments in it. They're not adjustable like the gentleman before just mentioned, but I put little pieces of foam in there to keep them from shifting around so much. So those work, and I use those for travel, for quick teaching sessions. And then another option, sorry, I'm out of frame. Another option is a cigar box that's got the little trays in there for cigars. So mostly I keep knives in there. It's not quite big enough for most gouges. I think the OCC tools will fit in there. And then for the tackle box, the little smaller piece, and for the cigar box, I've got a repurposed bag that was a drill. It was a bag for carrying around a drill, a portable battery drill, and it opens up, and the cigar box fits in there. Perfect. So I can carry it. It gives me a way to close it up and also a handle to carry it with. So there's a handle.
Hey, Mitch, do you know if you can use those for traveling on airplanes? Is that a good way to take stuff with you if you're flying somewhere?
Yeah, but you can't carry it on. You have to check it. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Mitch.
You're welcome.
I was going to show
Hey,
this
Blake.
real quick. This is the toolbox that I was telling you about. It's got a lazy Susan on the bottom, so it spins around. Quite a few holes on the top. There's a drawer on the front. Again, somebody donated this to our group, and so again, we'll be auctioning this off. We've got to figure out a way that we can ship that so that we can get that out to the winning bidder. But again, this is a good option as far as a box goes. If you want to have a box that you can put all your tools in and you can carry it with you. So something like this would be recommended. But again, it's hard to find people that make these kinds of things anymore. So if you can get your hands on one, it's really nice to go ahead and grab it.
Hey, Blake, I've always used a thing called a Woodcarver's tool tote. And I just looked him up on the internet, and he's no longer making them, but it was Bob Clark out of Fernley, Nevada. And he said that he may share his plans in the future, which I don't know what that means, but
yeah, and it's like this. Is it similar to this one?
In some, yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had several different models. Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to share with you too that Harold always used to use a cigar box, and his tools would just kind of rattle around in there. And he told us that he uses that to his advantage. He would take a small piece of sandpaper, put it in the box with his tools, so as they rattled around, they would sharpen themselves.
Well, and I think that we find the longer we carve, the fewer tools that we need. And so sometimes you end up downgrading from a big box like I've got to, a cigar box, because you just don't need as many tools as you used to. So.
Yeah, the older you get, the heavier they get.
That's right.
Blake?
Hey.
I make my own. I go to I go to Hobby Lobby and I buy a box that I have there for painters, and I take them apart and put them together. I don't know if you can see this or not. And if I can get farther back. And if I've got it hinged so can you see it, guys?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so it's hinged. When you close it up, it closes all the way up in this way, and then I can carry it. But then when I'm carving, I have it so it opens up so I can see everything. And then over here, I have this comes out with all my sharpening stuff in it. And easy to make, not hard to make. Your tools aren't banging around. When you put them in those cases without anything holding them up, they get nicked. So this is really easy to make. If anybody wants to make one, let me know. I'll be glad to help you.
Thank you for that.
That's it.
Terry, if you'll give us your information, if somebody reaches out, then we can direct them to you.
Just email Terry E. Donahue, DONAHUE @gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we are at about 15 after 4. We've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. It seems as though we're having some good creative discussion. Does anybody have any other questions for the group at this time? And I guess I want to ask a question also. What do you all think about this format as far as having some open discussion, just questions in general without a presentation on a Saturday? It seems as though we're having quite a variety of topics. So just wondered if you all would want to do this again, or if you like the format of just presentations and you can ask questions of the presenter, or if you want to do a variety of both. We would probably like to do this again in the future, but I don't know how often we should do it. So we tossed the idea around of having these, every so often, or just doing them, once every 6 months or something like that. So I just wondered what you all thought about it.
My 2 cents, Blake, I really enjoyed it. It was enjoyable. I don't know how often you should do it. That's up to you guys, but I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks, Bob.
I thought it was great.
Thank you, Ray. All
I
right.
think we need to keep doing this.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. We want to have a variety, and we want to make sure that our meetings continue to be beneficial. Sometimes we have difficulty as far as getting presenters, and we work really hard, constantly trying to get people to come on and present for us and stuff. But I know everybody's got personal lives and things that they're doing, especially through the summer. So we may be filling in the gaps some with some of these kinds of meetings with just open discussion to see, what questions people have or, what discussion we can have. So I'll go ahead and stop the meeting at this point. Again, it's coming up on 20 after 4. I want to thank you all for participating, coming in and joining us. Again, this is the International Association of Woodcarvers, where woodcarvers are helping woodcarvers. And we want to do everything we can to help you get involved, help grow community, help share wood carving, and again, just offer content that people can use so that they can get better and participate in the art of wood carving. So thank you all for coming on again today. Check out our videos out on YouTube. Like and subscribe our Instagram and Facebook pages, and come back next Saturday. Again, we'll have a presentation next week. That'll be with Ken Kuhar from Pennsylvania. And we've got Dana Kavik coming up from Carving Junkies on May 14th. So we got a pretty good lineup coming up in the following week. So we look forward to seeing you all then. And thank you all again for joining the International Association of Woodcarvers. Thank you all.